Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. And this is We Own the City, y'all. Okay, get on in here. Let's discuss. This is part 5, okay? This is season 1, episode 6. And of course, episode 5, y'all. Okay, we get episode 6 next week. We know this is only a mini series, a limited series, and we only get 6 episodes. To be honest, I think we needed like 8 or 10, y'all. I think they crammed all this in, and this was a lot in this episode. It actually gave me a headache, but I'm going to try my best to go ahead and break this down for y'all. All right, we had a lot going on. The basic general synopsis is, we're getting the FBI, right? I believe it is Jensen, Saraki, and of course the Attorney General, Leo West, trying to figure out what charges they're going to be bringing them on. On one side, we're seeing them when they're still doing these, interrogations, interviews, whatever you want to call them. And on the other side, we're seeing them actually still processing everything, figuring out who they're going after, what they're going to be charging them with, and things of that nature, listening to the wiretaps. Of course, we are still getting back and forths. And we also had, I believe it was Maurice Ward from last week that they were talking to. It was Gondo and it was Jamal. I'm just going to call them the GTF boys, okay? Because to be honest, Gondo and Maurice look a little bit alike to me. Sometimes I don't know when they talking to which one, the way they were switching back and forth. The only one I can kind of separate out of it is Jamal. And with the FBI, I'm just going to say the FBI, baby, because, like I said, it was a lot of jumping back and forth. We also have Nicole trying to just, get the rest of her last little information she needs so she could go ahead and write up what she needs to write up so she can have these things put in, before the new administration comes in, before they start making changes, before this mayor hop her behind out of here, whatever have you. We want to have that done. And we're also seeing that Sean is on a new murder case, okay, where obviously nobody is trusting the police, okay, because y'all have not given them any reason to. And so we are going to get into all of that, all right? So here we go. Now, we started out the episode, of course, with them still doing these interviews. And at one point, I believe they started with Gondo or whatever. He was still talking about Jenkins, and they was like, okay, well, let's move this over to you. You joined the force. I think it was like '05, right? And he said, yeah, he started on the Northwest. And so they said, well, you said you was doing small robberies during that time. And he was like, yeah, back then we would do the Belvedere Towers. And he tells him it was about '08. And so he was like, it was no big stuff or whatever the case may be. It was just little things. And so they said, but then you got shot in 2006. What was that about? And so he's basically saying some dude tried to rob him and he got shot. And they like, well, we've been hearing conflicting things about that. Okay, are you sure that that's the story you want to stick to? And he was like, y'all got the reports right there. But my thing is, how the hell you expect them to, trust reports when y'all been falsifying and stealing all kind of stuff? So they was like, one source actually indicated that this has something to do with trafficking and, basically drugs. And he was like, now who the hell said this? And they was like, Raymond. And so he's like, oh, really? He was like, oh, this is funny. Now people want to sit here and act like they're the damn teacher's apple and lay all the stuff over on me. He was like, man, that ain't even credible, okay? And so I found it funny because most of this episode reminded me of if you have siblings or you had cousins that came over when something got broke or somebody was in trouble and they would go, no, I didn't do it and he didn't do it and this one did it. It wasn't me. That's basically what they was doing. It was like every man for himself and everybody trying to make the, next person look worse. And so he starts to tell them about how, basically all, was on Jamal's mind all the time was, Pussy, okay? And that even though he was married, he had a girlfriend on the side, and the girlfriend was the one that would give him info for a lot of, the things that they would be able to get and, still whatever, Jamel. And that this girlfriend's name was Crystal Ferguson, okay? And so he would go by, he would see her, he would lay up with her, and she would tell him different people that he would be able to go ahead and get access to different stuff from. She knew all the players in the West, MLK or something like that, right? And all their cribs, and basically just be able to get him whatever he needed and whenever he wanted it. And so, of course, he was loving that access. And so, of course they switched to Jamal, and he's like, G Money said that, yo, he's funny. He's acting like he's, I'm saying, some scent. This guy, now he gonna bring Crystal into it. And so they're like, did you do the robberies or not? And one thing I find so ironic and funny about them is, yeah, it might have happened. I'm sure we did do that, you know what I'm saying? Because we did have different things we did at different times, okay? So they don't really be trying to deny anything. And it's like, at this point, y'all got so much different stuff going after y'all. Does it really make a difference? It's funny that they still do try to keep certain things out when they can. But, they talk about that, he had a situation too, and he was saying that it was self-defense. And so they come back to him, and Gondo's like, no, he shot 3 people that year. Okay, this wasn't just one incident. They saying, one of the times that he shot somebody, they actually had Raymond or whatever was saying that he did his own thing. He never denied it. He was honest about it or whatever. And he was saying that this Lexus guy in a Lexus or whatever had a weapon, and so he basically had to clip him, and he got off on that one, okay? And of course, we keep hearing this story. He also says that Palomir showed up at the shooting. And so they was like, Deputy Commissioner? He was like, yeah, he's Deputy Commissioner now, but back then he was the colonel, okay? And yes, he did come through. And so every time they think somebody is clean and innocent, it's like, damn, throw the whole department away, okay? Because he was coming through too, and he was trying to help him or whatever. And so, of course, we keep hearing this narrative over and over of them getting suspended, them getting moved, them taking time off, and whenever they would come back, the next spot they get is the GTTF, baby, okay? That's where it's at, apparently, for all of the, quote-unquote bad apples. And so, apparently he helped him get out of that. We then had, him show up at the scene, and you just see the person all leaned over in the damn car dead. So, Jamal is saying the Kennedy shooting was justified or whatever. And they're like, oh, but you got suspended for 2 years. And he was like, yeah, while they investigated. And as soon as the investigator was over, of course, he had to deal with IAD and everything. And he was suspended with pay, okay? They never take away these guys' pay. And so he was like, yeah, I guess you could say I was in limbo. And then he came off suspension in 2012. And lo and behold, like I said, he ended up on the gun track trace force, right? Same old song. So they just continuously do this with all of them. And so at this point, Jamal got mad at his lawyer and was like, what the hell am I paying you $500 for? I thought that was funny. Because he damn sure was just sitting there, okay, and wasn't doing nothing. And Jamal was doing all the talking. And, like I said, now they're starting to turn on each other. And I'm like, why now? Before, y'all pretty much was all sticking to your story. Something else that was interesting is that they knew they was being investigated. They did not give a damn, all right? We then go to May 2016, which is basically supposed to be 12 months, I guess, previous to where they sitting and talking to them. And this is where we see that Sean now has this other murder. Is nothing on him. They're not finding no cases around them. They say they're going to start knocking on doors. And Sean sees this man that he walks up to and trying to talk to. And the man ain't trying to hear it. He's like, I don't like cops. I don't talk to cops. I don't trust cops, okay? And he was like, yeah, do you know about the Jump Boys? And so Sean is saying, yeah, one time he was with them, and he said, well, you know what they do, okay? Because Sean was trying to say, when he said he didn't like cops, that he was a detective. He was like, and you still a damn cop, okay? He was like, you wasn't born a detective. I said, I know, that's right. So he was telling him he don't trust them. He don't talk to them about nothing. And he was like, the Jump Boys basically used to jump out and rob every damn body. And there was one time when they robbed him, okay, the old man that he was talking to. So he was like, I ain't got nothing to say. And of course, Sean being Sean, he still says, as a matter of fact, he said he was homicide, not detective. I'm sorry, but the man didn't give a damn whether he was saying homicide, detective, or Winnie the Pooh at this point. And so basically, Sean did give him his card or whatever the case may be, and he was telling him nothing personal. He been in Baltimore all his life, and he just know, okay? He know the deal. And so, like I said, Sean gave him his card and was like, if anything else comes to you, please call. But of course, this is going to make this even harder to, sign this warrant because nobody trusting them. You know, we had Ahmed and Nicole in this scene where they're all disgusting about the optics and about nobody really cares that, you know, police are robbing drug dealers because they look at the drug dealers like they're bad anyway. And that's true. And I get it because drug dealers know when they're in this game, they could be robbed by other drug dealers, other people, the cops, you know, God forbid, they could be murdered, whatever else. They know the risk. But at the same time, they almost seemed like they were shocked when they were saying, well, we got some other cases, okay? Everybody ain't a drug dealer. You got them stopping people that just may have had a ticket or they might have, you know, had a little bit of weed. And they gave Nicole this one file where they was like, I think you should go and talk to this person and hear his story. So she was like, okay, so off she goes, you know, to do that. We see that the FBI is sitting outside watching Gondo go in. They're saying, you know, let him go in and get comfortable, and they're waiting to put this bug in the car. And so I forget the female officer's name, but you know, the female FBI officer or whatever, she was ready to go in, and one of the other officers that's supposed to be her partner was like, you know, do you need help? I'll go with you just in case. And she was like, in case what? And he was like, oh, I don't know. She was like, what, you think I can't find my way crawling around in the dark? And so he was like, how did that come off? And the other partner was like, how did you want it to come off? And he was like, oh, I don't know, maybe like I'm an old white man that was born in 1972. And he was like, well, then you hit the mark, okay? And she went and she put the bug in the car with no problem. And then when she got back in the car, she basically was making jokes on him like, oh, do you think my hair is messed up, whatever. So it was just showing how, you know, they be kind of sexist even though they may or may not want to. We had Sean sitting in the bar with his friend, you know. Now he's over here moping and getting drunk, and he's actually kind of venting about how he used to work that gun track trace unit too, and he got a, you know, pass in the history with them, and it was a long time ago. And he feels like he's where he needs to be and like he's doing the right thing by him being on homicide now and really making a difference. And the guy basically was like, you know, should I buy you another drink? And he was like, shit, if you buying, then hell yeah, you know, give me top shelf. And so we have, you know, Nicole go talk to this guy. He's saying how he have 3 kids. 2 of them is in school. The wife took the other one so they could talk. You know, she's asking him, is he currently employed? He says, no, not right now. He was a HVAC repairman, you know, doing heating and air. And so she tells him to tell her about the incident. And he's like, oh, you mean when I got pulled over? And she's like, yeah. And basically, of course, Herschel had to be involved. You know, he went and was grabbing pizza for his family, driving home. Here they come pulling him over. You know, they said it was something with the tail light. She was like, oh, was the tail light out? He was like, yeah, more than likely it was. He was like, as a matter of fact, I think it was. That did happen sometime. And because it's an older car, it used to be hard and you would have to wait to get the part. So, you know, I was waiting to get that. And, you know, basically Herschel did Herschel, what he always does, right? He's pulling him over, and this wasn't the first time. So he was aware of the guy, and the guy was aware of Herschel, you know? And so basically when he pulls him over, you know, he says to Herschel, like, come on, man, could you hurry up? Could you just give me a ticket for the light? You know, Herschel's over here talking about, oh, you still live in that nice, you know, neighborhood, as if there's no way he should live in that, you know, nice neighborhood. And then he bumps him and does the old, oh, he assaulted me, you know, arrest this man. We got to take him in now, bull crap. And basically starts to search the car. The guy's telling him he has no cause for that. He's like, the hell I do, you know, or the hell I don't. And he's searching it and supposedly claiming that he's smelling a weed smell, you know. Nicole asked him about that and whether he was smoking weed or not. And he was like, I mean, you know, it basically be smelling like that outside anyway, anywhere that you walk past. And so nonetheless, you know, of course, he searches the car. He ends up stealing his whole paycheck, which was like $650 something. You know, the guy's yelling to him, did you steal my money? He is like, wow, Herschel, like, you trash. You know, he basically spends 2 days in jail. When he gets out, they have him automatically sign that paper that we heard of before, where he can't file no type of lawsuit against them. And now he done lost the damn job because of being locked up for the 2 days. He don't have a car no more, so even if he gets called for a job, he wouldn't be able to get to it. He doesn't get the money back. Herschel ends up putting up like $50 out of the 600 and something that he stole. So, you know, essentially they just jacked this damn man over and messed his whole damn life up, and he got nothing to show for it, and he can't sue. You know, obviously they knew it wasn't no case because they just, you know, let him go. Okay. And that was that. And so when he was saying like he took the money or whatever, he was like, are you surprised? Asking Nicole if she's surprised. And so we're then back in this interview room. We have Jamal talking again, and he was saying like, don't y'all putting all this on me. Gondo knew these people way before me. He was actually with the unit before them. And he was like, when it comes down to it, all we did was follow the damn leader. He was like, shit, it was Eilers, however that's how you say his name before, it was Jenkins, okay? And so they was like acting like they shocked about that. He was like, yeah, he was down with the robbery shit too. So he starts to tell them how Alice had actually got info from some type of CI, and they went to West Emmerdale, and he's like, on this one, he brung his son. So he was like, it must have been bring your child to work day or whatever. You know what I mean? Bring your kids to work day. I was like, what the hell? So they get there, and it's basically a husband and a wife. I think it was supposed to be George Williams and Yolanda Williams or whatever. Big, beautiful house. And they go in there and basically, start searching all through these people's shit, steal money or whatever to have you from them. And this was things that I said they did on a regular damn basis. And so, then they go back to Gondo and they like, okay, you didn't tell us about this one, And he was like, listen, we had permission from Jenkins. This is how it worked. You robbed the fund, and basically there was one point where you had, I think it was Maurice talking with Gondo, and they going back and forth, and he's giving him the breakdown of how they don't come into work till 10 or 11. Jenkins gets in sometimes after that. Yesterday, they didn't even work at all, but they literally got paid for a whole damn day of overtime. The overtime is wide open for them whenever they want. You can work as much as you want. This is the easiest job that you will ever have. And so they were basically getting paid when they were not even working. So of course this is other charges that the damn FBI could bring them up on. We have what was his name? Akbar, Nicole's little assistant that came with her, reading her decree that she wrote and saying, wow, this is really something. And she's saying they need to hurry up and get this in. Like I said, their main concern is getting it in before the new AG takes over and they start doing a whole bunch of different changes. They need this to be on the table. And so he was like, how your friend, the police commissioner, gonna feel about this? And so on one hand, the police commissioner is like, whew, when the guy's saying, did you read this? And he's like, what they want us to do, stop policing. And, the commissioner is saying, hey, to get more control and maybe not being as aggressive. And one of the other cops is saying, they have to be aggressive to be able to get things done. These dummies, Jamal and Gondo, is basically on the phone talking about how they make this $8,000 in overtime. They was like, they raking in the dough. They getting everything that they need. They saying all of this while the damn FBI is listening. And at the end of the day, like I said, at this point, they knew the investigation was going on and just didn't give a damn. They talking as freely as they want to, right? And so they just keep talking about Jenkins is off the chain. Jenkins is off the chain. I love it. And so they was like, but we do have to hurry up because all good things come to an end. So again, they knew, and they was like, this is fraud or whatever the case may be. And, of course, they're going to come after them for that too. We have Nicole go talk to this ex-cop that's retired. I think he was on the force for like over 20 years. He's teaching classes now to new cadets that's coming in, and I think he was also an author of a book. And so basically he was saying how he came in 72. He says things were so different, but then he was one of the beat cops that would walk the streets. He was like, after that he did a real long stint on homicide and different things like that, and he loved being a cop. And so he basically was like, but now it's different. It's a whole new ball game, and these people are into new things. You got, street robberies, rapists and murderers and all this different stuff going on. But then you also got these crooked cops that's making, everybody look bad and doing bad things that they ain't got no damn business doing. Of course, he talks about the street codes. He talks about, that the trust is broken. Well, Nicole actually said the trust was broken, going according to what he was saying her. And he was like, hell yeah, the trust gets broken when they beating the hell out of you, And he talks about, how everything just changed, and he was like, come on. Then they wanted to do the war on drugs. What an idiotic thing to say. What even is the war on drugs? And he was like, the way that they went about everything, it was basically like they was waging a war against citizens. They was separating, and it was becoming two different camps. And Nicole was like, colonizer and colonized. And he was like, exactly. And he was like, you got the militarization of police, SWAT teams, tactical swings, stop and frisk. He was like, it just basically went bad to work. They messing with the Fourth Amendment. It's like if we're fighting, terrorists on foreign soil. And he was like, it's not just the cops. It comes down to the politicians too, because they want you to be hard on, crime. And then, Nicole basically was like zero tolerance. And so that's all stuff that we know, what I'm saying, is real. And that happens. And so he basically was just, talking to her about that and saying how one time over 100,000 people had got arrested. He was like, come on, that's damn near the whole, one in every black community or whatever. And of course, the majority was black. And then all of them were mostly let go. Okay, so you made all these arrests for shit that you couldn't even basically take to court, that really wasn't no crime, that nobody did a job, what I'm saying? Like, did time for, just to make a quota. And so, we're back to Jamal talking inside of this interview room. And he was saying that they wanted to get this Hamilton family, okay? This was the new thing. And Jenkins was going to act like he was the damn district attorney. And then he going to look at the district attorney talking about no offense, but he was laughing at that. They would go in first into this Hamilton's. They would make the stop. They stopped them on the side of the road, and they got, I think it was like $2,500 off of him, just out there in the street. And then they said, took him back to Jenkins, and he was basically saying to him like, oh, we know you got drugs at your house. Just admit it. Tell us where to go. Tell us where to look. Once the guy wouldn't say anything, he was like, okay, well, then we're going to go look. They go and look, and they don't find any drugs, okay? But they do, I think, find, I can't remember if he said 70-something thousand or 100,000 there, something along them lines. But Herschel was left in the room alone, and supposedly he stole a piece of it. By the time the sheriff that they was waiting on came, they told him that it was 50,000 there and gave him a receipt for it and said he would be able to pick it up later. And the guy was breaking because he was saying 50,000, where's the rest of it? Okay, there's money that was missing. And they say Jenkins wasn't done. He started sitting down even after this and still saying to the guy, okay, where's the drugs, The guy's still telling him there's no drugs. He's saying, damn, this is a nice house and this was a long ass drive. And he's like, you got to give me something in order for me to leave. Okay, if you can't tell me that you got drugs here, are there any other safes? Is there somebody you could call up? You got to give me your plug, your dealer, somebody. Okay, you got to give me a name, baby. Something got to go down. And that's the bottom line of whatever case. And he's like, we'll take care of you if you take care of us, And he was like, come on, because here's the crazy part. One morning you could wake up with 10 kilos in your backyard and all this other stuff. And so he's basically trying to, threaten this damn guy. And then he's saying how, Jamal is saying how they split up all the money. But of course, like I said, some of the money was missing. Herschel had already hit it. And he was like, at this point, they were basically stealing from each other. All right. So it wasn't even like they say, no loyalty amongst thieves, right? They were all basically stealing from each other. They were all stabbing each other in the back. And they all knew that they was being investigated, right? Can't make it up. And so, but he was saying Jenkins was doing it the most, right, out of all of them, supposedly, most of the time. And so, you then had a scene with Gondo and Jamal in the car where they're literally talking about knowing that they're being investigated, and he's saying that it's a feds case. And Gondo goes, this ain't Pablo Escobar, it's the police, they ain't gonna be doing all of that for us. Jamal is telling Gondo how it's probably because of him, because she flashed too much. Little do they know, it's just because they were stupid. They were stupid, basically. And, just so happened that those other cars knocked up when they got sloppy. That's the bottom line of it. They even say that at one point Jenkins had took paternity leave, was home with his baby or whatever the case may be. And he's over here spending some time with the new baby or whatever, but he's spending the other time apparently downtown, okay, fancy, by himself, having dinner out by himself, and then going up, getting these big hotel rooms and getting blowjobs and all kind of stuff. They talk about how this guy, K-Spot, that Jenkins, was trying to take under his wing and be his mentor and all this stuff, would ride with him. And they took him out one night and was like, giving him this what if scenario that if they was to, see a drug dealer that got money and they want to take the money, what would he think about that? And K-Spot basically was like, I think that's some fucked up shit, okay? Excuse my language. He was like, oh, hell no, we don't do that. That's a terrible fucking idea. He was like, that's not what the police is for. That's not why we wear the badge on our chest. We can't do that. We don't do that. And so, of course, once they seen he wasn't down with it, they was like, oh, we was just playing. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, that's what we was waiting for you to say. But not too long after that, Jenkins transferred K-Dot behind right up out of there, And he basically was like, Jenkins forgot that there was still some cops that's basically not crooked and not down with his bullcrap. Okay, so he got him the hell up out of there. The next thing I think was them having this meeting with Nicole. And this was interesting but not surprising because the mayor was saying, I don't know, this might be too much. We may want to wait to do this. Her advisors was telling her this would cost too much. It might take away from some of the other things that they're trying to do. They're worried about programs. Of course, they're worried about, building up businesses that could bring money and all this different kind of stuff. And Nicole is like, but this is important and this is going to affect the same black boys that you're talking about. We even had the commissioner. Excuse me. We even had the commissioner. Excuse me, y'all. We even had the commissioner actually agreeing and saying, I'm willing to do what I could do on my part. I actually support this, Your Honor. We need to make changes. Something needs to be done, or your mayor, rather. And so they're like, well, you figure it out then, Commissioner. We can't afford to increase the budget for the police or whatever. One lady's like, I'm all for police reform, but this is something that we can't afford. And so they tell him that if the, police department could go ahead and manage the police and, fix the problem with the funding that they already have, then make it work that way. So that goes to show you how much they care about these priorities. And again, they wanted this done before, Trump got in. And so then we had, the FBI saying this is going to be a racketeering charge. This is going to be fraud. None of them know nothing. They had to keep it all quiet. Not even the commissioner knows anything. So they got to do it by the book. Make sure that they got people to stand up. Of course, they don't have a lot of people that want to testify, but they do have something. There's been multiple conversations on the wire. Of course, with them talking about the massive freaking overtime and the time cards and all of that. So they definitely have them on that alone, or whatever the case may be. They was collecting overtime while they was on vacation and the whole daggone nine. All right. And so they even say they're going to give Rosenberg a nice send off before he goes to go ahead and become Trump's whatever attorney or something. And so basically, they waiting to go ahead and do this, and they get the call that Jenkins was going in, and then we kind of all see them going in one by one, and then we get the news conference, right, where they're saying all these guys that was on the gun transport, they are arrested, they are charged with conspiracy, racketeering, related charges, robbery and extortion, overtime fraud, and that they are gonna conspiracy crime, and they are getting them, in and out of here, okay, including a Bruce of Power, whatever have you. The commissioner takes over and he's like, we're gonna gut this. They had to go. We can't have no bad apples in the freaking bunch. You know how that go. And he has no sympathy for them. All right, they was doing all this stuff. They was acting like they was 1930 gangsters. So they got what was coming to them. And the department is going to act swiftly and decisively, and clean up and address the problem areas. They have immediately disbanded select, plainclothes officers and put the ununiformed officers back in patrol. And they are dismantling the VCID. Okay, so that's that on that. And in the process of this, of course, you know, Sean is seeing this on the news and it's like his mind is blown. You got one of his co-workers like, yo, you used to work with him, didn't you? You know what I'm saying? What kind of officer was he? Sean ain't answering nothing. He just getting flashes of the time in the car with the money. He's getting flashes of the old couple that had the accident. You know, he go in the bathroom to wash his face off. His partner was asking him if he's okay. He's like, yeah, I just got to go, you know what I'm saying, to the John for a minute. But, of course, we know that this bothered him. You know, we're seeing Nicole watching it and her partner saying to her, oh, wow, you know, Herschel ended up getting caught up into this of all things, right? And so they just looking. Sean is all stuck in traffic. A car had to come up behind him and beep the horn like, you need to get out the way. And then we're seeing him like not being able to sleep, tossing and turning, looking out the window. You know, we get this story from Nicole where she says she worked as a prosecutor for a while, but she just felt like it wasn't for her. She felt like she was on the wrong side, but that she needed to start there and able to get to be where she is now. She didn't feel right with sending young boys to jail. They both were saying how they was destined basically in their families to become lawyers. She talked about her father being a judge, but even with her father being a judge and them living in a predominantly white neighborhood, of course, there's a scenario where her brother gets pulled over several times because of how he looks, how he's dressed. They don't believe that he lives in the house. One of the times when the father tries to come out and help him, they basically disrespected the father. So long story short, her brother basically moved to Atlanta. He don't trust the cops, of course. He don't want to be bothered with them. She says she's never really, I guess taken it personally in that way or hate cops or whatever. But she do know that it's some of them that, don't do what they supposed to do. And so explains a lot of why she does what she does. And she was like, at this point, I don't even know if anything we're doing is making a difference. And so, basically that was how the episode ended, guys. Like I said, this was a lot. It gave me a daggone headache. I tried to break it down for y'all, you know what I'm saying, the best that I could. Y'all tell me, did y'all like it? Did y'all not like it? Are you following this so far? Have you followed the real story and to compare it, compare and contrast to how they doing the show? I will say that I have liked the episodes that we got in between this episode and the first episode better. I like the format of the storytelling when we only have like one or two people that they're talking to and we can be a little bit more focused. That makes me nervous of what we're going to be getting for episode 6. I felt like 1 had a lot of stuff compressed in it, and I feel like they went back to that format with this episode. And so with 6 being the last, I'm like, how y'all gonna do it? How you gonna pull it off and end this off with the number 6? I don't know, but we shall see. But tell me all about it. Put it in the comments. Let me know y'all opinions, what y'all thinking, what you like, what you don't like so far. Okay, let's discuss. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Okay. Give me some flames. Let me know you came by. All right. Give me a wave if you want to. A little emoji. All right. Little fist and all that good stuff. All right. Till next time. Talk to y'all later. Toodaloo.